Hello, my name is Doris and I am Little Bird Products. Welcome back if you've been here before, and thank you for returning. And if you're new here, welcome. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. It really does help the channel and you'll get notified every time I post a new video. What I wanted to do today, a couple of things. I wanted to recap what I did accomplish this week and what my major project is for the coming week. The main focus for this video is going to be what I called, can this quilt be saved? If you watch my videos, you'll know that I had an opportunity to visit Round Top in the Antiques Week a couple of weeks ago, and I bought a cutter, what's called a cutter quilt. And I washed the quilt after I got home. It's a knot tie scrap quilt, and it's beautiful. I love the colors, but it does have quite a few places that need some repair and need a little help. But in general, the quilt itself and the backing is in pretty good shape, and I wanted to give it another life or resurrect it, which I think is appropriate for this time of year. It's Easter week here. And I've been looking at it. I had it laid out on my big cutting table in the garage, and I'll show you some film of that a little bit later. And what I did is I took my little magic clips, and I want every place that needed a repair, I put a couple of clips on it so that I could go back through it and look at it. I'm going to take and lay out my my kimono pattern that I use for my vintage chenille kimonos, because my thought is I'm going to make a kimono jacket out of it, or maybe several kimono jackets, because it lends itself to that. That pattern works pretty well with something that's quilted. And I'm going to have to be very choosy about how they lay that out, because what I'm thinking is to make sure that I want the fabric that's still good on it, to use those places. And if I have to repair it any place, I'm going to use my free motion quilting foot after I get the pieces cut out. This is what I have in mind. After I get the pieces cut out, then I'll use my free motion quilting foot to go over the fabric so that those pieces stay together. So if I need to hand stitch some places where the fabric is pulled away, I'm hoping I can avoid having to do that. I can avoid those places that have that fabric ripped, and then I'll serge around the edges, because I want to make sure that the fabric has continuity, that it's that you're going to be able to wash the jacket and wear it, enjoy it as a vintage piece, but also be able to enjoy it for a long time, so that it does have still the integrity of the fabric and it's good. So that's what I've been working on this week is I had a custom order for 2 book pocket pillows, and as a part of that, I needed to do something that I've been avoiding, trying to put off, and I just couldn't put off any longer. I do my own machine maintenance, and I have 2 older 6-needle embroidery machines. I call them my girls. One is Bertha. She's a good old girl. And then the other one is BJ. That's Bertha Jr. She's slightly younger than, or slightly newer, I should say, than Bertha. And BJ was misbehaving. I couldn't stitch an image all the way through without having her stop and puke at me several different times. And normally that's a sign where, okay, I either need to change my needles, or there's some futz or fuzz in the thread path. So I just needed to bite the bullet and get that done. And I spent, I think it took me maybe 2 or 3 hours, probably longer with my procrastination, of cleaning her all off, making sure I cleaned out the thread path, taking off all of the there's knobs, thread tension knobs, and there's little felt pads under those, making sure all that was cleaned out, that the whole thread path, and you do that individually for each one of the 6 threads that come through. And then I needed to change all 6 needles because I like to do that all at once, and then I write the date down so I know, and I probably should write the stitch count. So I know how long those needles have been in there. Typically what I do is I change all 6 needles at the same time, and I do that a couple of times a year. And it's kind of a pain in the butt thing to do. But I was fortunate this time because I did that to BJ. Bertha didn't need it. She's been behaving very well, but her younger sister has not. So I did all of that, and then I'd run a test stitch, and the test stitch ran perfectly. And with these pillows, I also was doing a new embroidery image, and I always run a test stitch of that to judge the colors. I changed the colors, and I had to have the customer tell me what colors they wanted, and then I show them the test stitch and have them approve the colors, and then I stitch it on the normal quilted fabric to make sure that's all right. And the only problem I had with that is that when I created the image, I spelled the child's name wrong. And of course, I caught that at the test stitch. Thank goodness I did a test stitch. But it was a little different child's name, so I had an extra Y in there instead of a V. And I'll show you pictures of those here. And there were 2 of them. One was just an elephant image that I had already created, and I just needed to put the date of birth and child's name on it. And I had Bertha do that. She appreciated it. And of course, I ran a test stitch first for that. Everything that's custom, I run a test stitch and get approval. So that took me a little bit of time this week. The other thing I did is I made a new sweet shirt, which you can see here in the background, and I really liked it. And I'll put more pictures of that in the end, and me kind of fancy dancing around. It's a little larger shirt. It's kind of large and very comfy on me, but I love the aqua color. And I have another one that's hanging on my mannequin. I have it all pinned up. It's going to be a little bit of a different sweet shirt. And I'll show you that in Wednesday's video because I'm hoping to have it finished by then. I'm going to put a little chenille fringe on the bottom, and I have I have a cutwork tablecloth that I used for the sides, and I'm liking how it's turning out. This one I love because I used some vintage buttons, and I think it kind of looks like a little face on these rosettes. So I'm trying to be more creative with my sweet shirts, but I'm also trying to stick to my hope for those is that they don't take me quite as much time and effort, and I use some of my scraps and some of my vintage linens on them, and I sell them for $49 to $59 in the shop. I haven't had anyone buy one, I don't think, yet. I am going to hold off on making too many more until I think I have 3 more designed. I'll finish those and get them in the shop next week, hopefully. And then I'm not going to make any more until I have a few sales and I get comments from customers. It's kind of difficult to make new things when it's not during the show year because I only have feedback that I get from my Etsy shop and little upcycling community, the Refashion Rebels, from them, get their thoughts on it so that I can get feedback from real people other than just from my little mind for what I'm doing. I'm looking at my notes here, make sure I don't forget anything. Oh, and the other thing is I made this hat this week for my wonderful customer who has bought 4 other hats from me. She had a friend that she wanted who loves Disney and loves Mickey Mouse, and I happen to have a Mickey Mouse sheet that I could make that out of. So she's picking those up tomorrow. I've shown her pictures and sent her pictures of the fabric before I start because that's commission work. And then I also want to make a few more of these hats to sell at the craft show I'm doing with my friend, the Tooth Collector Fairy, in Lubbock in a week and a half. She's graciously allowed me to sell my hats and purses in her booth. So I think that should be fun. And then I'll get some feedback on those too, because this is not doing the normal show year for me. So should I make more of them? Should I make less of them in the fall? I have had some very nice orders for those on Etsy and also custom orders. So that's good. That means that to me, that means that I can continue to make those, and they're kind of a fun make for me. Although I do need to get the time that they take me to make them. I need to get the time down so I can keep them at a reasonable price. And they are reversible, so it's like when you purchase one hat, you're really getting two. I try to keep denim on one side and then some cotton or cute fabric on the other side, so that when you wear the denim side and you flip it up, and you'll see that in my picture, and I'll have a little video of me dancing around with my hat on. The Mickey, you can see it on the brim on the inside, and then when you wear it the other way, it's the denim on the inside. So I love that. So I want to get a couple more hats made and 2 more sweet shirts this week, as well as finishing this rescue kimono, maybe 2 of them if I can get that out of this quilt. And normally I don't cut vintage quilts or chenille that's pristine, that can be sold and still has a life as what it was, but this quilt, well, as you'll see when I show you in the video that I took of it, it does have quite a few spots that would require a lot of restitching, and I don't think that, I think it's finished its useful life as a quilt, and I think that it has enough good places in it to make a couple of beautiful kimono jackets, and I'll show you a picture of that in the end. Hopefully I can get it finished before I need to post this video. So let me know if there's any of these things that I'm making or I had made that you would like to have a more in-depth tutorial of. If you'd like to have a close-up of some of my sweet shirts, maybe a sweet shirt collage video so you can see all of the ones that I've made and I can give you a talk through of those. Let me know what you'd like to see, and I'd be happy to do that for you. And I hope you had a wonderful week and you have a wonderful week ahead of you. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, the first thing I did with this kimono jacket from the quilt, the vintage quilt, is because I didn't have enough to fold it in half and cut on the back on the fold. What I did is I cut each individual piece, and then I stitched the center back together like where the fold would have been. And now I'm going to serge it, and then I'm going to go around and I'm going to serge all of the seams because, you know, with having cut the quilt with the batting in between it, I want to make sure everything keeps its integrity. And then after I serge all of the side seams, you could do a zigzag stitch, but I have sergers, so I'm going to let them do the work. Then I'm going to inspect the quilt for these pieces like this where it's torn, and then what I'm going to do is tuck those in. I might put another piece of material over it to kind of cover that depending on the integrity of the piece, or stitch it in. Basically I'm going to be stitching those weak seams, and then after I stitch those weak seams I'm going to inspect it one more time, and then I'm going to go back to my sewing machine and put on the free motion foot, and then I'm going to use free motion quilting over the whole thing, and that will ensure me that it'll stay together. And then I think I'm going to put the whole kimono jacket together, and then you can see some of these spots and things that didn't come out in the first washing. Then I think I'm going to put it through the laundry one more time, because I don't want to send something to someone that I mean, I don't mind sending stains if I've tried several times to get them out, because it is vintage after all. So anyway, that's the next step. I'm going to take a minute here and show you what this back of this kimono jacket looks like. I have finished serging all of the seams, and I think it looks pretty good. This is the spot that I thought was particularly unique. It says Amish country. I love it. But you'll notice that I need to stitch down a little bit here, and there's another little weak spot here. This is a little repair I have to do, and I need to decide how I'm going to do that repair, if I can just tuck it in and then stitch with some off-white thread. And I think I have to go over it really carefully. There's another little spot that needs some repair. So I'm going to go through and do those little repairs And here's another little spot. But then a lot of that will be solved when I go through and do, I'm going to use a free motion quilting foot, and I'm just going to kind of do a spiral and go down like this and go all over the jacket with that free motion stitch, just to make sure that the material stays there. I am really pleased with it. I did make this one longer since I had the material. It's going to be a little longer in the back than it is in the front. And I was able to cut out the front of a second jacket and half of the back, and I need to kind of patchwork together the rest for the back of the half. So I'm going to finish the side seams of the front of this, and then I'll come back and show you that before I start doing the free motion quilting. Then I'm going to do the free motion quilting, and then I'm going to put it through the wash one more time. This is the two front pieces. I just finished sewing. The sleeve's kind of running over the edge there. I love the way the front here turned out. I'm going to have to decide. I think I want to put some kind of close mechanism on that. I'll probably use, I like button and loops on these. And I did a little bit of not so fancy repair. Right here. I did a little zigzaggy stitch there and a little zigzaggy stitch there for a couple of pieces that were coming loose. This was probably the best piece out of the whole quilt. So I decided to use a little visible stitching like that. I haven't decided what color I'm going to use for my free motion quilting stitch. I thought about using a cream color because most of it is cream, and then I thought maybe a blue would be pretty, like this color blue, because it will have that, you know, all over it, and so I think it'll kind of highlight it. And then on the back, when I do it, I'll do like I did this up here. I'll just use off-white on the back so it's not quite as visible. So I'm really excited about that. So now I need to go and inspect the back of it and get that ready for the free motion. Now I've inspected it, going over it like a section at a time, and every place I found some place that I wanted to stitch it a little bit, I put a piece of this blue tape and I pinned it so that I know what it is I want to sew. Well, that's the way I did it. And then that side wasn't too bad. There's a little spot there, a couple little spots, and then looking down, there's a little bitty spot there, there's a little spot there, and then that goes on down here. But that way, I looked at every section, and I'm assured that, at least sort of assured, that I found all the spots. And then when I go to do the free motion quilting, if there's any others, take a quick minute and show you the sweet shirt I've been working on. I think this is so sweet. Anyway, I wanted to cover up the logo that was on the front, so I used a piece of vintage chenille, and then these are the wrist cuffs that I cut off because I don't like those on the cuffs, and as you can see I cut it off on the bottom too, but I have it pinned up. What I'm doing is using my technique that I use a lot, where I put pieces of, normally it's a rectangle, but the way that this sleeve was on the side, it's a square for the front, a square for the back, and then what I do is sew it shut here but leave it open in the side seams, and that will be the way the sides are. And then I have pieces of vintage chenille fringe that I'm going to put on the back and on the front. So I'm going to be trying to get this done today as well, and when I get it finished, I'll put it in that week's video, hopefully this week's video.